This is called Seekers of the Wild Realm, and it's by Alexandra Ott. Chapter 1. I gaze into the clouds, but there's no sign of dragons. Papa says they're most likely to start their morning hunt at dawn, so I always scan the skies at this time of day, when the sun is low on the horizon and the first rays of pinkish light shimmer on the surface of the sea. Spying the dragons on their morning hunt, when they leave the safety of the island to fly over the ocean, is the only way to catch a glimpse of them outside of the realm. But aside from the occasional shadow, I never see much of anything. Staring at the clouds again? Teases a familiar voice. I grin at Runa. Looking for dragons. Of course you were, Runa smiles. But we have to hurry if we're going to get everything done. Didn't you say your mama gave you a long list? She's not wrong. It could take the whole morning to pick up all the stuff Mama asked for from the village. Which is why I always talk to my best friend and get her to accompany me on these boring errands. Runa makes basically everything fun. Well, in that case, I say, I'll race you and take off down the dirt path before she has a chance to respond. You cheater, she calls, her footsteps pounding after me. Runa's parents' farm is outside the village, all the way to the end of the lane, over the hill, so we have a long way to go to reach the center of town. The soft earth and wet grass stick to my bare feet as I run, and the wind whips my hair from my face. The morning air is chilly, even this late in the summer, and I almost wish I had remembered to grab my coat. I crest the top of the hill and stop to catch my breath. In front of me, our little village is nestled in the crook of the bay. The ocean spreads out to the south, glimmering in the sunlight. The fishermen's boats are just visible out on the water, pursuing the day's catch. Rising hills surround the other three sides of our village, gradually giving way to even steeper plateaus and soaring mountain peaks. There, in the highlands, lies the wild realm. Papa's told me about it, of course. The mountains, the waterfalls, the forests, the crystalline lakes and spouting geysers, not to mention massive glaciers that lie to the north, and lava fields that spread in the shadow of the volcanoes that bisect the island in a diagonal line. There's a whole world up there in the realm, one that is uninhabitable for humans, but makes the perfect home for the world's most magical creatures. One that's accessible only to seekers, who can fly to its heights on the backs of dragons in order to collect the magical treasures that lie within. Seekers are the only people on the island who get access to the realm. It's absolutely forbidden to everyone else. I've never seen it, of course, but my papa was a seeker, back before he hurt his leg, and he told me everything about his adventures. Until I can become a seeker myself, I'll have to be content with scanning the skies for dragons and praying I catch a glimpse of one. I'm gonna catch you, Runa calls. She's gaining on me. I take a quick gulp of air and launch myself down the hill. The dirt path winds past my family's hut and the neighbors, before widening at the edge of the main village, where the bells are announcing dawn. It's bustling. Fishermen heading down to the shore, shopkeepers opening their doors, men heading to work while the women rush to trade goods. Runa and I are neck and neck as we race towards the large tree that marks the center of the village square, and we both tag it at the same time. I think we have to call that a tie, Runa says. Fine, I agree, panting hard. So, where do you want to go first? Not the fishmongers, she says, wrinkling her nose. Then we'd have to smell fish all morning. Good point. Let's try the bakery. Before we continue down the path, she brushes off the hem of her skirt as if there's some dirt on it, though I don't really see any. Even after running all the way, Runa still manages to be neat. We do look alike in some ways. We both have light brown skin and dark brown eyes, like everyone else in the village. And we also share raven black hair. But where mine is an unruly mop of curls, Runa's is always orderly in braids, without a single strand out of place. And she never gets mud on her hems, and only gets dirt on herself when she's riding her horse or mucking out the stable. I, on the other hand, am always dirty, and I don't even have a horse or a stable to blame. But despite our differences, we've been friends since before we could walk, and she knows me better than anyone, except maybe Papa. When I get distracted halfway to the bakery by a sprig of moss growing outside the blacksmith's shop, anyone else would think it was weird. But Runa just laughs. Staring at the clouds to staring at the ground, she says. It's lightning moss, I say, trying to ignore her teasing. It can be used in healing tonics to treat fever. Runa's eyes light up. Really? She says, stepping closer. I grin. She might tease me about my fascination with plants and magical creatures, but she's just as passionate about her healing gift as I am about my nature gift. How does it work? No idea, I say. But Papa says it's rare in the summer. I should help it grow a little, and we can tell Elder Ingvar to come collect some for his tonics. Runa steps away from the moss, and I reach for my magic. The plant's life force is strong, but soft, and I seek it out with my gift. I give it a little gentle nudge with my magic, feeding the spark of its life force and feeling it grow, the energy softly swirling. The moss spreads, climbing higher up the wall. Come on, Runa says when I'm done. Let's find Elder Ingvar. We cross the village square and head towards the squat hut that houses all of Elder Ingvar's medicines and tonics, right next door to the doctor's. Inside, the hut is packed with tight rows of shelves, all covered in bottles and jars filled with healing ointments and salves and powders. The little shop feels claustrophobic to me, but Runa loves to wander along the shelves and read all the little labels on the jars. Elder Ingvar is talking with a customer at the back of the shop, and we wait patiently for them to finish. I recognize the customer as Olga, the elderly lady who lives near the docks. I can't believe they would let them come back, Elder Olga is saying. Her voice sounds strained, like she's worried about something, and Elder Ingvar frowns. But surely the Seekers wouldn't agree unless it was safe. I think they're still arguing about it. Disgraceful. You'd think the council could agree among themselves. Even though Mama says it's rude to eavesdrop, I can't help but perking up. The 5 people from the village who are chosen as Seekers also serve as the village council, making many of the decisions about the way things run and settling disputes. Not that there are many decisions or disputes in such a small village. In recent memory, their biggest decision was whether Elder Frida's potatoes were sneaking into the neighbor's rutabagas. Still, I can't help but be fascinated every time someone mentions the Seekers. If I'm going to be one someday, I want to know everything. Never should have resumed communication with them in the first place, in my opinion, Elder Olga is saying. She starts to add something else, but Elder Ingvar, who has just noticed Runa and me lurking, clears his throat, and she turns around to see us. Good morning, girls, Elder Ingvar says. I'll be with you in a minute. That's the end of their mysterious conversation. Elder Olga finishes her purchase and turns to leave. But as she passes by, she stops and says, Stay away from the docks, girls. You hear? Nothing but trouble there. What trouble? I ask. Her face darkens. The Vondur, of course. Runa gasps, and my eyes widen. But before we can ask any questions, she shuffles away and leaves the shop. I turn immediately to Elder Ingvar. What did she mean? His mouth is just a tight line. Nothing for you to worry about. It's just talk. Are the Vondur back? I ask. Elder Ingvar looks reluctant to answer. Rumor has it that the Seekers have given them permission to dock again for the next trading day, he says. But it's just a rumor, nothing more. Runa and I look at each other. The thing about living in a small village is that there are lots of rumors. And many of them are true. Conversations about the Vondur always make me a little nervous. All the mainland clans come to our island periodically to trade, except the Vondur, who've been banned. Our history with them is rocky at best. Papa says that many years ago, a ship of Vondur magicians tried to conquer our island and force the villagers out, because they wanted to take over the wild realm for themselves. Luckily, their magic was no match for the Seekers, who drove them away, and they haven't been to the island since. The Vondr don't have magical gifts of their own, the way us Islanders do. Instead, they perform dark spells by using items or creatures full of magic. Papa says they'd rather butcher a dragon than protect it, so they could use its parts for their strange potions and spells. Which is why the Seekers guard our island creatures so closely. The Vondr might kill every creature on the island if they got a chance. I can't imagine why the Council of Seekers would give the Vondr permission to trade here again. Seeker Oscar, who was the oldest, and therefore head of the council, was a Seeker way back when the Vondr tried to conquer the island the first time, and he helped drive them away. Could they really have become peaceful enough to trade with us again in such a short period of time? They've always been known for waging war, and invading their neighbors, and killing dragons. I want to ask Elder Ingvar more, but he quickly changes the subject, asking us what we've come for. We tell him about the moss, and he thanks us before sending us on our way. Outside the shop, I blink in the sudden bright sunlight as Runa leads the way to the bakery. Do you think they're right? I ask. About the Vondr? There's always rumors about the Vondr, Runa says. It's probably nothing. But they don't usually dock here on trading day, I say. Why would the council let them? Runa opens her mouth to respond, but a shout makes both of us jump. Elisa runs towards me, yelling my name. My little sister hardly ever runs. She gets a bad coughing fit that makes it hard for her to breathe, and Mama strictly forbids her from running anywhere. So seeing her barreling towards me through the village square means something must have happened. Something big. Eliza? I say. What's wrong? She stops beside me, panting for breath. She's small, even for 6, and her hand-me-down skirt nearly drags on the ground. Seeker Oscar, she says when she catches her breath. He came over this morning to talk to Papa. He said he's retiring. Runa frowns, not getting why this is important, but a grin slides across my face. You're sure? He definitely said that? Yes, Eliza says, crossing her arms with indignation. What's going on? Runa asks. Don't you see? I say, grinning even wider. There are always 5 Seekers. So if Seeker Oscar is retiring, that means there'll be another competition in order to replace him. A Seeker competition? Runa asks, finally catching on. Yes, and since I'm 12 now, I'm old enough to enter. Don't you see what this means? Let me guess, she says, smiling. You're going to compete? I'm going to compete, and I'm going to win. I feel like dancing across the village square and shouting the news for all to hear. This is it. The opportunity I've been waiting for. I'm going to become a Seeker. Chapter 2. Eliza and I race each other home, but she slows to a walk as we reach our hut. Good thing Mama didn't see her running. Elizabeth! Mama calls from the kitchen window. Her voice is sharp enough to carry across the garden. Have you been running? Eliza bites her lip, and I rush to her rescue by changing the subject. Where's Papa? Come inside, Brynja, Mama calls. Eliza and I enter the small, dim hut, and Mama wastes no time in scolding us. Didn't you get the bread I asked for? And the fish? I was walking there with Runa, I say quickly, but then Eliza came up and said... Mama sighs. You'll have to go back later. Here, help me with breakfast. She hands me a ladle and steers me toward the pot of porridge hanging over the hearth. Eliza takes advantage of the distraction and slips away to the back of the hut. Where's Papa? I ask again. Mama returns to the kitchen table where she's chopping vegetables for tonight's stew. He's walking Seeker Oscar home, she says, in a tone of great disapproval. So, Seeker Oscar was here. Hope's rising in my chest again. Maybe Eliza's right. Maybe you can ask your Papa about it when he gets home, Mama says, in a way that warns me not to continue the discussion. 5 minutes later, I give up on the porridge and go to the window, pushing aside the thin curtain and poking my head out. An early morning chill greets me, and the cold wind blowing in from the bay as well. Our garden path is bathed in golden sunlight. I don't see him, I say, craning my neck to peer down the lane. Patience, Mama says. I bounce up and down on my heels, keeping my gaze fixed out the window. Steam rises from the pot of porridge I abandoned, but I don't leave my post at the window to rescue it. I expect Mama to scold me and say something like, emergencies are no excuse for ruining breakfast. But she doesn't. Minutes pass, accompanied only by the rhythmic chopping of Mama's knife and the excited pounding of my heart. A tall shadow darkens the gate at the end of the garden path. He's here! Mama says something in a scolding tone, but I barely hear her. I'm already running, my bare feet sliding across the cool, hard-packed earth beneath them. I fling the door open and race to meet my father. Papa limps down the path, leaning heavily on his walking stick. His dark hair and beard are less tidy than usual. His eyes are ringed with shadows. But he still holds his arms out for a hug as I run up, and I melt into them. His coat's covered in dew and smells of damp wool, but I don't mind. I take a step back and Papa looks at me. I suppose Eliza told you, he says. Yes? Seeker Oscar is ill, he says softly. He will likely recover, but he's decided to retire. It's the best news I could hope for, though I should probably be sad he has to retire. Seeker Oscar is a kind man and one of my father's closest friends, beloved throughout the village. Of course I don't want him to be ill, but I'd be lying if I said my heart isn't dancing wildly in my chest, excitement coursing through my blood. Oscar is the most elderly of the Seekers, the only one who is even remotely likely to retire. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for my entire life, and my family can't afford to wait much longer. There are 100 questions on the tip of my tongue, but it would be disrespectful to ask more of them now. I settle for, how's he doing? As well as can be expected, Papa says. The healer thinks he just needs his rest. I hesitate, wanting to word my next question carefully. Will they want to find a new seeker right away? Papa lays a calming hand on my shoulder. Yes, soon they will announce the next competition. He removes his hand. I take it you still want to compete? Of course, I frown. Don't you want me to? I've been telling Papa about wanting to be a seeker for years now. I thought he wanted me to carry on his legacy. Papa shifts his weight, leaning heavily on the walking stick, and smiles. I think that once you set your mind to something, there's nothing in the world that's going to stop you. I smile. He takes my right hand in his left, leaning on the walking stick with his other side, and together we head up the path toward our hut. His hand is cold from the morning air, and his fingers calloused. Your mama may not be so easily persuaded, he warns me as we draw near the open front door. I know, I say. This is a possibility I've prepared for. And between you and me, he lowers his voice and leans closer to my ear. I think it might be easier to take on a whole pack of dragons than to go against your mother. You get your iron will from her, you know. I know that too, I say with a sigh. Mama can be absolutely just as stubborn as I am, and it isn't easy to argue with her. But I'll convince her somehow. I have to enter the competition. I was born to be a seeker. Papa looks like he wants to say something else, but we've reached the hut, and Mama's probably listening in. So I step over the threshold, my eyes readjusting to the darkness. The smell of smoke and porridge is heavy in the small room. Bryn, Mama says, don't let your breakfast burn. She points to the hearth where the pot of porridge is about to bubble over. As I save breakfast from the fire, Papa shrugs out of his coat and tells Mama about his conversation with Oscar. He doesn't mention the competition or our conversation outside, but he doesn't have to. Mama looks at me anyway. She knows what I want. I've been dreaming about being a seeker ever since I was old enough to understand Papa's stories. He'd come home with pockets full of star flowers and dragon scales and tell me about flights up the mountain and over oceans, about nursing wounded ice foxes and gear pups back to health, about tracking unicorns and flying on dragons and countless other adventures. All that stopped 2 years ago when Papa hurt his leg. Since then, there have been no more stories and no more starflowers. I always knew I wanted to be a seeker, but now that Papa can't, I have to. Someone has to bring the starflowers back. Mama retrieves 4 bowls from the drying rack and lines them up on the table. "Serve breakfast while I fetch Eliza," she says. Papa crosses the room, his boots thudding against the earth, and hangs his coat by the fire as Mama ducks under the clothesline that divides the kitchen from the sleeping area. I ladle 4 bowls of porridge and set the table for breakfast, sliding into my seat at Papa's right. A minute later, Mama and Eliza emerge from the bedroom. Eliza's breathing is raspier now than it was earlier. She had another coughing fit last night. A bad one. Mama's been trying to use the last of our medicines sparingly, but she was forced to break out more starflower paste to ease my sister's breathing. Eliza slides into the chair across from me, already chattering excitedly to Papa. He smiles and laughs with her, hiding the worry in his eyes. Maybe he's wondering what I'm wondering. How much starflower medicine we have left, and what we're going to do when we run out. Back when Papa was a seeker, we never worried about it. Mama would serve Eliza tea steeped in starflower leaves every morning to keep the coughs away, and she'd grind the petals into a thick paste, which we'd carry in little jars all the time in case she had a coughing fit. Eliza's had trouble with her lungs since she was born, but I never really thought about it as a real problem. The starflowers don't cure the coughs completely or fix her lungs, but the medicine helps her breathe when the fits get bad. And our supply seemed endless. Until Papa got hurt and the starflowers stopped coming. Now there's no more tea, and our supply of paste is dwindling. It's up to me to become a seeker just like Papa did, so we can have starflowers again. As Mama and Papa chat with Eliza, I let my mind drift to the thoughts of the competition. There hasn't been one since Papa got hurt 2 years ago, and I wasn't old enough then to compete. I watched the finals, though, just like everyone else in the village, but I wasn't allowed to see any of the training that happened beforehand. I'm not sure what it will be like, or how hard it will be. I share Papa's nature gift, and that's got to count for something. But a gift alone isn't enough. I have to be skilled in all areas of magic to win. But I'm Seeker Jacob's daughter. If anyone can be a seeker, it's me. I've known since I was 5, when I first discovered my gift. Some kids find theirs even earlier, so I was a little worried that mine was never coming. But then it happened. Runa and I were playing on her family's farm when her sheepdog started barking at the edge of a tree. We followed him into the woods and heard strange sounds. A high-pitched whine, kind of like a dog, and we eventually found the clump of bushes it was coming from. Runa was scared to investigate, but I stepped slowly towards the bush and peered between the leaves, only to see a pair of big brown eyes staring back at me. A little sea-wolf cub, all alone. I'd never seen a sea-wolf before, since they are supposed to live in the wild realm, but I knew what it was. I'd seen Papa's drawings of sea-wolves in his sketchbook. They're typically smaller than regular wolves, and they have reddish-brown fur instead of gray. This little one was small, even for a cub. So small, I could probably lift it with one hand, and its fur was definitely brown. Energy radiated from it like nothing I'd ever felt before. Its life spark was so bright, so intense, I knew this creature was magical. "Why is it all alone?" Runa asked. "Do you think it's abandoned?" "I don't know," I said. "We should tell my Papa. He'll know what to do." "But if we leave, how will we find him again?" Runa asked. With more confidence than I felt, I said, "I'll find him again. I can feel him." So we ran to fetch Papa and brought him back to the woods. As I'd suspected, Papa was very concerned about the sea-wolf cub being all alone and so far from his home in the realm. But as Runa had predicted, it was hard to find the exact place where we'd seen the cub. I closed my eyes and focused as hard as I could, trying to sense the energy I'd felt before. And to my surprise, I did sense something. Faint at first, and then stronger. I directed Papa and Runa to it, and after a moment, Papa smiled. He could sense it too, but he pretended not to, so I could lead the way. In the end, I led Papa straight to the bush where the cub was hiding, with my eyes closed. "Bryn," Papa said softly. "Look." I opened my eyes. Green light was dancing along my hand, the color of my magic. "I think we found your gift," Papa said. His smile was huge. "A nature gift, just like mine. And a strong one at that. You were right about this cub." The green light of Papa's own gift swirled in the air as he used his magic to reach out to the cub, letting it sense his presence and know we didn't mean him any harm. "What are you doing so far from home, little fella?" Papa said to it. "You must be lost." "How could it have left the realm?" I asked him. "Sea wolves prefer the ocean to land," he said. "They'll stay on the shore only to sleep, care for their young, nurse an injury. The packs regularly climb down from the realm to make their way to the sea, where they hunt for food. They can swim incredible distances and hold their breath underwater for hours, you know. This little one probably wandered off while the pack was moving, and now he's lost. Shouldn't be this far south." After a moment, Papa reached into the bush and carefully lifted the cub out, wrapping it firmly in his coat. "Never do this without training, girls," he said to me and Runa. "Sea wolves can bite and claw you if they feel threatened." "Are you taking him back to the realm?" I asked. "Yes," Papa said. "The other seekers will help me find his home. Sea wolves are very loyal to members of their pack. I'm sure they're looking for him." I watched as the wolf cub peeked out of Papa's coat, staring at me. He was so cute, with tufted fur and puppy dog eyes. My gift mixed with the cub's own energy, filling the air with magic. I'd never felt such a powerful connection as I did in that moment. "Can I go with you?" I asked Papa as we walked out of the woods. "I want to see the cub find his pack." "I'm sorry, Bryn," Papa said. "You know the rules. Only seekers can go in the realm." "But why?" I asked. "Because," Papa said gently, "the realm belongs to the magical creatures who live there, not us. If too many people tried to travel there and take the magic of the realm from themselves, it could ruin the land forever." "But I'm just one person," I said, "and I'd be there for like a minute." "I know," Papa said gently, "but we all follow the rules. If I let you come into the realm once, then you'll want to come back again and again. And what about Runa? She found the cub too, so it wouldn't be fair not to bring her. And if I bring guests into the realm, then it would only be fair to let the other seekers do that too. Do you see? If we start making exceptions, then the rules won't be meaningful at all. That's why everyone promises only seekers get to enter the realm." "Okay," I said. "Then make me a seeker." Papa laughed. "All in good time, Bryn. You have to be at least 12 years old. And besides, there can be only 5 at once." "Why?" "Five's nature's number. The number of the 5 gifts. Long ago, when our people first settled in the village, it was believed that 5 was the proper number to maintain balance within the realm. So they appointed 5 seekers, one with each of the 5 gifts." "But we don't do that anymore." "You have a nature gift, and so does Seeker Oscar. You have the same gift, not one of each." "That's true," Papa said. "Some of the gifts have become rarer than others, so we don't always have each of them represented at the same time. But there are always 5 seekers, to follow the tradition." "Well, it's a dumb tradition," I said. The sea wolf cub made a little whimpering sound, and Papa gently stroked it. "Don't worry," he said to me. "With such a strong nature gift, you'll be a seeker in no time." I believed him then, and I believe him now. Ever since that day, becoming a seeker is all I've ever wanted. And I know deep down in my heart that I was meant to do it. I connected with the little sea wolf cub so easily. There's just one teeny tiny problem with me becoming a seeker. The part of our tradition that Papa didn't tell me that day in the woods, but that I soon figured out. Only boys have ever been seekers. What I didn't really understand when I was 5 is that the men in our village do most of the jobs. They're the fishermen and the shopkeepers and the blacksmiths and the doctors. Some people in our village say it's because men have stronger magic and are better suited to jobs that are considered harder, while women's magic is supposed to be better suited to housework. But that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I've met most of the boys in the village, and there's no way their magic is stronger than mine. I think the real reason is just that it's always been this way, and people don't know how else to do it. But some traditions are in need of changing. Besides, once people in the village see what my magic can do, they'll know what I know. That absolutely no one would make a better seeker than me.